X gonna give it to you.
He gonna give it to you.
First, we gonna rock.
First, we are going to rock, and then we are going to roll. Cheers. Because Meg's gonna give it to you.
Meg's gonna give it to you.
Too much energy.
Hooray! You're Silverbolt.
These upgrades come with a warranty.
Blah 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 blah. Beast Wars once and for all.
Cheetor, what have you done?
I am giving this episode no energon.
What
Yeah.
are you, a Quintesson? This is no energon. Fuck it. I can't.
Sigma balls, Gary. No, not that. Ah!
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Too Much Energon, the podcast where two 90s kids talk about Beast Wars shit and talk shit about Beast Wars. This is episode 88, and I am one of your hosts, NeoCal.
And I'm the Siege, the other guy, coming to you live from a mysterious floating mountain somewhere on planet Energon that has been infected with COVID-19. That's me, the Siege. And
Planet Energon that's been infected. So the opposite of the Energon that juiced up Pterosaur.
yeah, listeners, yeah, I don't know if you noticed, maybe I sound a bit different, but yeah, I have COVID. I have the COVID. It took 2.5 years of working grocery and not getting it, and then 2 weeks to the day into my new job, get fucking COVID.
It's because you moved into bat country. Sorry, redneck country.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm going with. It's because I moved to Victoria into a more like rednecky area. But well, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
COVID.
Get COVID, I guess.
What are you gonna do? Get COVID. It's been kind of a wild journey. I'm on, and I didn't actually realize this at the time, but I am technically now on my 11th day of symptoms. So, at time of recording, it's July 4th. So, happy 4th of July to our American listeners. I started developing symptoms on June 26th. I started getting a dry cough, which I didn't really think much of because I have kind of a chronic cough anyway, and I kind of just attributed it to that. It was a slightly different cough, but I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's just, maybe it's dust or something from facing, because as everyone knows, I work at a grocery store. On the 25th, what happened on the 25th? Something else. Oh, I started
the
getting
25th was the.
I started getting a tickle in my throat. That's right.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Which again didn't think anything of. On the 26th, which was a Sunday, I started getting a horrible pain in the right side of my chest, which I just attributed to pulling a muscle. Then on the 27th, which was when we recorded the last episode of Too Much Energon, still had the chest pain, still had the mild cough. Again, still wasn't thinking anything of it, although I was
we
told.
recorded though.
We recorded,
Did that
yeah.
shit. Yeah.
And I was told by a couple of people that I sounded kind of off. 28th, Tuesday, I wake up, can't get out of bed, just no energy, feel terrible, was in bed all day. Wednesday morning, was up all night, up and down like all night, just coughing and sneezing, and every time I did, I felt like I was being stabbed in the chest with a knife.
So
I
mild COVID symptoms.
mild COVID symptoms.
Just a cold.
Yeah, just a cold, right? So I finally decided to take a rapid antigen test, and oh boy, it came back positive. That T line showed up super dark within like 30 seconds.
And for anyone listening, those little rapid control tests that we take, it tells you like it can take up to like 15 minutes
Yeah.
to give a negative or positive result.
Well, and indeed, the test that I took today, so things are improving. The test that I took today, the T line was fairly faint, and it actually took several minutes to show up. So that tells me I'm on the road to recovery. Thursday, chest pain continued, and this was not just mild chest pain. This was like anytime I coughed, I sneezed, or even took a deep breath. Again, felt like I was getting stabbed. I would actually have to like hold my my chest when I knew I was about to cough, to just try and like brace myself. It was that bad. Around Friday or so, everything started, or no, on Thursday actually, everything started getting a coppery metallic taste to it, and everything kind of
Right.
started getting like kind of a an aerosol smell to it. Like just imagine Febreze, but without all of the like other junk in it to make it smell good. Just the like pure like aerosol quality is kind of what everything had was everything kind of smelled like. And then the next day, the coppery metallic taste of everything turned to everything kind of tasting like foul like fungus, like mushrooms, like rotten mushrooms, which was absolutely disgusting.
That's wild. I knew it affected taste and smell, but like I've just heard that people losing it, not like shit tasting, but fucking
Yeah, no,
horrendous.
for me, like everything just tasted like absolutely disgusting for a couple of days there. And then I lost my sense of taste entirely for about a day. It came back yesterday. It's also over the weekend, it was also coughing up phlegm, which was like a weird ass color, like not the same color as it usually is when you just have like a cold or flu. It was weird looking. Yesterday again, and there's been kind of this up and down quality throughout all of this where I have like strength and like despite like coughing and everything, like I'm still like up on my feet. I'm able to do things. I have not left the house in a week at this point. Um, but because I've been following the guidelines to the letter
Yeah.
and
And I
self-isolating.
mean, you've literally been testing yourself too. And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
yep,
every day.
still COVID.
Yeah, still COVID. Um, oh geez. This is the brain fog, ladies and
Oh, there
gentlemen.
you go. There's another one that you hadn't mentioned that while it was happening over text, you communicated to you. It's just like you'll start something and then go,
Yeah.
wait.
Well, and yesterday I had another day where I couldn't get out of bed really for most
So
of
the
the day.
fatigue's been like, oh, I'm fine. Oh, it's back. Oh, I'm fine.
Sa-
Oh, it's back.
Same with the chest pain. Like the chest pain yesterday wasn't that bad, but I didn't have the energy to get out of bed. But now today I'm up and about and mostly feeling fine. But now the chest pain's back full swing.
Hey, anybody saying that this crazy wacky shit isn't made in a lab? That-
It's a wild set of symptoms that you deal with when you have COVID.
And so this is just the only bad news that you've had this past week. I take it.
Yeah, one, I found out one of my uncle a couple days ago, one of my uncles has a brain tumor, so that's yay. And I also found out a couple days ago that an old friend of mine from the 2000s blew his face off.
Yeah,
He
you don't need to do details, but it was violent and
the
tragic.
Yeah, so me and him were actually really good friends in the 2000s for about 5 years there. Our friendship didn't end the best, under the best circumstances. I later found out that his erratic behavior toward the end of our friendship was because he had gotten into doing drugs. And ultimately, without going into too much details, some of those demons contributed a role into him into his passing. And I realize when I say he blew his face off, it makes it sound like he shot himself. He didn't. No, there was actually an explosion that
It was an
happened.
accident. Yeah.
Yeah, there was an accidental explosion that happened that claimed his life. Dude was like 3 weeks younger than I am.
Oh, so like would have been the same grade, basically
Yep.
the same age.
Yeah, we're born in the same month and everything.
Wow.
Left behind a couple of kids. I found out from the mother of his children, who is an even older friend of mine. I've known her since I was a teenager. She reached out to me to let me know. So that was like, even though like I hadn't seen him in probably like since like 2008 or 2009 at this point, but
The blockbuster era.
yeah. Even though I hadn't seen him in so long, and we weren't really friends anymore at that point. At this point, it's still a gut punch, and yeah, I've been. Well, it's been a shitty week for me. The past 7 days between episode 87 and episode 88 of Too Much Energon have been kind of a whirlwind of shit. There's also I also got some other like shitty news over the past couple of weeks that I'm not really going to go into, and then plus stuff that I've been dealing with in my own personal life for the past couple of months. It's 2022. It's been a garbage year. Just going to be blunt. It's started off pretty decent and has quickly taken a nosedive in the past few months.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like the symbolic version of like fucking like having a having a wank and oh boy, here it comes, and then the doorbell rings and you're like, fuck, oh, I don't want somebody to steal my Amazon pack. Okay, I'll just wait for it. Boom, police raid with a boner. Boy, there's nothing that kills a boner faster than the police bashing down your door. Not that I would ever have experience with anything I just said. I just like making extremely inappropriate jokes about other people's torment because I'm uncomfortable with human suffering, and it brings my own mortality into question. All right, folks, it's been good. Have a nice.
Well, I was gonna say, I'm sure now that you've said that, though, like someone out there, someone is gonna come out of the woodwork and be like, actually, jerking, a police busting down my door.
That's my fetish.
That's my fetish. I can't
say it again, but slower.
I can't climax without the SWAT team smashing their way through the windows.
It all started when I got my partner to dress like a cop, and well, it escalated from there.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna try and like continue on with that joke, but I don't even know where to take it anymore.
I got nothing, man. It was bordering on even too. Long ago, I was like, oh, this member of like Lasercomb is like the wholesome one, or maybe like this one is. And at some point I stopped and I was like, am I the wholesome member of of Lasercomb? No. It's the children who are wrong.
Are any of us really wholesome deep down?
Not really.
No, not really.
Anybody that is, like externally, they're probably the most fucked up. Yeah, they've got dungeons somewhere and demons in their closet.
They're the ones that have the most skeletons wearing bondage gear in their closet.
Skeletons wearing bondage gear, wearing a fursuit in their dungeon. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Well, anyway, this is episode 88 of Too Much Energon, and this week
we like to start on a positive note.
Yeah,
here on Too Much Energon.
Yeah, I guess I apologize, listeners. That was just stuff that I kind of wanted to get off my chest.
Oh no, you listeners get what they pay for. They get glimpses into the good and the bad, right?
Yeah,
but also, if anything, COVID's real and it's pretty severe. So
yeah, it's been no bueno. That's
Before we move on, I reconnected with an old high school friend. Perhaps you kind of remember a buddy that used to live with our friend Xtina. It was kind of like maybe a bit later, maybe when we started going our own ways, but reconnected with him. He's getting married. He listens to this show, and I'm like, oh,
Really?
fuck, I didn't know. And he had actually mentioned that. Well, actually, when you guys talk about personal like ups or downs or whatever, it's kind of all like, oh, because he's our age, right? He's all like, oh, okay, so it's not just me. So
Oh,
if you can relate to the good and the bad, then that's one listener at least that's like, hey, like it's kind of like, an update on the real world outside
yeah,
of my my own box.
well, and
So there's some
well,
positive feedback.
well, and the format of the way the show is structured is we kind of just talk about like whatever for the first like 15 or 20 minutes or so of each
Oh
episode.
yeah, I don't care. Feel free to fast forward past our bullshit into when we're talking about the show.
But it's we've been following that format now since episode 36 of Too Much Energon. And one of the reason, and we're up to 88 now, so uh, we've been following that format for the majority of the run of this show now. And people are still listening, damn it, so we must be doing something right.
In the very least, it's our therapy that we subject you to. So take it.
Well, and
Take my energon crystal. Take it all.
well, and it's not all negative either. Sometimes it's positive stuff.
No.
But the reason why I like to do that is because I like to give people just a little bit of a glimpse into who we are beyond the guys who do terrible impressions of Beast Wars characters.
Very recently, and yeah, that's important. My favorite podcasts are when I kind of get a feel for the people, right? That's
Yeah.
good or bad, right?
Yeah.
But it's also when you see these kind of like, for me, certain like podcasts, I'm like, wow, this podcast has 10,000 listeners. They're rock stars. It's just like, hey, and they're people too, right? Like, we're not actors. God, shocking.
We're not professional voice actors here, ladies and gentlemen. We're just a couple of dudes who like to talk about Beast Wars shit and talk shit about Beast Wars and also talk shit about our day-to-day lives.
Somebody referenced my stupid ass Scorponok voice
Really?
recently on Twitter.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
hilarious.
they had misunderstood a reference or a joke to something, and then they said like in asterisks, like in Cal Scorponok's voice, and then said something like Megatron will reward us or something like that, and I'm like, thank you.
That's hilarious.
So
That kind of thing I find really rewarding when I see people on social media like reference our jokes from the show, because it's like, hey, people do really listen.
there you go. So thank you.
Thank you for listening and for quoting us
Yeah,
and for being
even when we're way wrong. And speaking of way wrong, and launching into episode 6 of War for Cybertron Siege. Sorry, chapter 6.
Chapter 6. Yeah.
We were like, and so Chromia this and Chromia that, and through the metallic desert. And then they get their arm ripped off, and Chromia lost an arm from the zombies. That's Moonracer.
Okay, so I was really confused about that when I was watching the
So was
episode.
I.
I'm like, what? So okay, so Chromia dies, like, but then
That's what.
and then we see her like in the next scene with the other Autobots. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, I'm
Some
looking
other.
up.
It's Moonracer. So we're the big dumb. Anyone listening is probably like, why do they? You guys, that's Moonracer.
Okay, I'm on the TF wiki right now because I was while I was getting ready to get started recording the show, I was just looking up the War for Cybertron Siege toy line. So already on the TF Wiki. So I'm looking up Moon Racer here right now. Oh,
Also, how did we not know? So there we go. From here on out, we're going to, when we catch it or when one of you point it out, we're going to say, hey, last time we said this, we meant this.
yeah, so she is literally just Chromia with a very slightly different color.
Well, of course she's a redeco, yeah. And which makes sense why we fucking didn't even know who
And
this was.
And like she's like barely a different color. Like same
Really?
mold, and like what the fuck? Chromia's Pizza?
What?
Chromia's Pizza is a snack food from the Creo continuity. Chromia's Pizza features a picture of Chromia on the box. The weird things you find on the TF Wiki, folks.
Is that a toy or is...
Yeah, Creo is kind of like Lego.
Oh.
Yeah.
What the? Okay.
Okay, so Chromia is blue, and this Moonracer character is like blue-green, is like greenish blue.
Instead of silver and blue, they're like off. They're sea foam and white.
Yeah. So,
but Chromia is like metallic blue and white. So you guys aren't pushing the envelope too much there.
Barely see a difference between them.
It's like they found a can of paint that had accidentally been cracked open too early to paint Chromia figures, and they were like, shit. Well, this is kind of different. What if we just use this like oxidized paint to make a redecal?
Apparently, if the TF Wiki is to be believed, there is no toy in the War for Cybertron toy line of Moonracer. So, Hasbro didn't even bother.
And indeed, the show. So real quick, this happens in the episode. The zombies. Remember last chapter 5?
Yeah.
It's like, no, they ripped Chromia's arm off.
Right.
Moonracer's arm off. And hell, they probably even said no, Moonracer, but we didn't notice, right? Very quickly at the beginning of this, she gets swarmed of chapter 6. Yeah. She gets swarmed by the zombie transformers, right? Yeah. And just her limbs and head like ripped off. And Prime comes over and he's like, no, Moonracer, and she dies. And he's like, well, that's that. Let's go.
Yep.
Like no goodbye, no like, like putting your hand over the head, no being like, she was a valiant warrior. Just like, oh, that sucks. Well, anyways.
Bitch is dead.
Bitch is dead. Can we at least reuse her body parts for somebody else? She had shapely legs, and I know Bumblebee wanted to be taller. Well, okay, so real quick before we get into the episode, like people can lose arms, people can be repaired, weapons can be removed and added and that kind of thing. To what level can you keep all of your OG parts? And like, you can't remove your head unless you're watching Beast Wars.
Unless you're Waspinator. Yeah.
Unless you're Waspinator. Unless you're hell, even Megatron from Beast Wars was blown into bits, and Scorponok gathered all the chunks of him in like a sack and chucked his fucking all the parts into the heel tub time machine. We're talking about Beast Wars, folks.
Yeah, the hot tub heel machine, yeah.
And the dude's like back within the cycle.
Yeah.
And he's like, Pterosaur, you've been a bad naughty boy, and he's fine.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you could argue that's a different line of Transformers that are more hardy and smaller.
It's a different continuity, because like the War for Cybertron trilogy is like is a reimagining of the G1 continuity, whereas Beast Wars was a sequel to the G1 continuity. So this is like This is a new universe.
New. It's different. And here, when you get your limbs ripped, they're a little bit more. They're like an armored but still living like being.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, we
And
discussed
like
that a couple of episodes ago.
we've discussed that, and we can get slashed and shot and can make it through, but not many people get their arms and legs ripped off and walk it off. So
Right.
fair enough.
But
So
then-
yeah,
But then, you know, Starscream can just have his arm chopped off by Jetfire and just have it glued back on later.
oh yeah. And he just kind of clutches it and goes, ah, fuck you.
Yeah.
Uh,
So to get into the episode now, the episode picks up where the last one picks or leaves off, and we got RC, Cog, and Bumblebee in Sound Blaster's like chamber trying to steal the
doing
energy.
up a heist.
Doing up a heist, and they're like, "Can't we make a deal?" And Sound
Oh, when they're
Blaster's like-
surrounded by Sound Blaster, Bumblebee's like, hey, can't we make a deal?
Sound Blaster's
You're like
is like, no, fuck you. But then something weird happens, like the electricity like shorts out somehow.
oh, do you know what that is?
No.
Because at first I was like, so one thing about rewatching this with Siege, episode to episode and reviewing it, a little more plot holes than just little ones like peppered here and there.
Okay, so
You know,
that
like
was just like the
Parmesan.
most like coincidental like power shortage.
And what I think it is it's the tri-alpha protocol virus wiping
Okay.
the power, because very shortly
Okay.
after it hits Bumblebee and he gets knocked the fuck out.
Right.
That's what I think it is. So plot hole filled.
Yeah, there are a lot of things in this show that and we've talked about this over the past several episodes now. Every single week we've mentioned this, but there are so many like little things that would make a lot more sense if they just added in one line of dialogue to explain it.
Just one little line of dialogue and be like, oh, okay, cool.
But
Even if it's a Deus Ex, it's like, oh, good thing we set that energy surge to knock out the power. Boom. Do you know what I mean? Little things like that. Like,
yeah, oh, it must be the virus that's like wiping out all of the systems, Autobot systems across Cybertron. Shit. All right, let's go.
there you go. It's a coincidental, or
See, right now it just looks like the world's biggest coincidence.
well, I think
Works in
it's
their
the
favor.
virus wiping everything out.
No,
But again, all it took is one sentence to be like, oh, what is that? And then like cutting to a different scene or whatever, being like, the virus is knocking the power grid off as we speak, Lord Megatron.
Yeah.
As like shockwaved, whatever, it doesn't matter.
I'm with you. I'm just
Yeah, we're both on the same page. But something bothers me more. The lights go off, and somehow that's an advantage to the Autobots that are surrounded. Not not right. Not sound. Not Pound Blaster and his like mercenaries. The lights go off, and they're like, what? And despite the fact that energon crystals are glowing,
yeah.
and lighting them up, they get the drop. They shoot.
Hey, who turned out the lights?
Who turned out the lights? And then they give them atomic wedgies and pull it over their eyes, and they go, whoa, I can't see. And they run down a hallway, and this is hilarious. They run down the hallway in a straight line while the stormtrooper men are shooting at them and missing everything.
Yeah.
There's just a car.
Yeah.
There's a car in the hallway, and then 10 feet away from the car is the exit. But they had to go through the base to go to the storage area. Why is there a car?
Also, what do all of these guys transform into? Cars. Why do they need a car? I mean, Cog doesn't, but he can just like.
But he
link
can hitch a ride.
Yeah, he could hitch a ride with RC. Why don't they
I
just
didn't even
transform
think.
into cars themselves and drive away?
I didn't even think.
And
Oh,
it's like,
by the way, it's like that moment where they're having when they're about to drive away in this non-transformer car, like a normal hover car. Bumblebee goes and he shuts down, and RC is like, that's weird. Get out of the way. And oh god, we gotta start. And it's that trope of the car not starting right away, and then they dramatically starts at the last moment and they get away. That whole thing, I was never even thinking about them just transforming into a fucking car and driving away.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, you could say that sure they have these big like hunks of energon crystals that they need to take back with them.
They have
They're
space
cars.
inside the car.
I was gonna say they're cars. They have
Trunks.
Why do they need a fucking hover car when they're cars themselves?
If everyone's like, hey, you guys linger on. It's fun for us to talk about the dumb stuff because especially when I do actually like the episode. Like I do like this
Me
episode.
too. No, I'm poking fun at like really like incidental things.
Oh yeah,
No, I was on the edge of my seat.
it's kind of funnier that they're in a stupid fucking car. I never even thought about that they can those in particular can 2 out of 3 of them can transform into a car. Also, what does Sound Blaster and his men transform into? He just kind of goes, "You Autobots," and shakes his fist. You had one car in the facility, and none of you transform into cars.
Sound Blaster is a redeco of Soundwave, and the
right,
Siege Soundwave. So does not transform into a tape deck.
Sorry,
he transforms into a hover tank.
So he can chase them.
So he can chase them.
I don't fucking know. Anyways, he goes, "Damn you, Autobots!
Damn you all to hell!" And he pounds the sand in the sea of rust. Speaking of the sea of rust, so this is where
moon, but taser. Prime like looks around, and the others are like, "I thought that was Chromia." And and Jetfire is like, "Moonraker." Jetfire is like, "Moonraker, you were a loyal Autobot." And Prime's like, "Her name is Spoon Racer." Well, whatever her name was, she died how she lived, surrounded by men that wanted to eat her. Yeah. I thought that was Chromia.
I've been calling her Chromia for the past like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Why did she say anything?
Yeah, and then Prime is like, "Well, throw her parts in the back in the sack. Yeah, we got to get out of here."
So they're fighting all of these zombies. Jetfire refers to them as the Sparkless. He mentions that they're Transformers that died in the Sea of Rust, and they're now all reanimated, like wanting sparks so they can return to life.
They want to feast on Transformer sparks so that they too can. I kind of like that. That's kind of cool. Yeah. Like lore about why there are zombies on the world.
Transformer zombies, yeah.
Transformer zombos.
Prime spots the Allspark, which is a
in manifests, D12? Right?
It's a D12, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I always get confused about the, like, obviously I know the difference between a D12 and a D20 is the number of sides on it, 12 sides,
right,
20 sides. But when I initially look at them, I have to look closely to be like, okay, is that a D12 or a D20? But I think this is a D12.
Well, I can't remember at what point. At some point in Lasercomb podcast's history, I made a joke about a dodecahedron, and
yeah,
the Allspark is a dodecahedron. I've played our tabletop RPGs for so long that I can immediately be like D8, D12, D20. And the pentagon faces is a dodecahedron.
That joke can be found on an old episode of Alphanumeric, our reboot podcast.
That's right, reboot.
Yeah. So go check that out, ladies and gentlemen. What episode is it? Who knows?
Who knows? You'll have to start from the beginning and comb through it.
You'll have to just listen to all of them because we've recorded a lot of this shit over the past 2 years.
That's right. And
Which
you're
actually
welcome.
we're coming up on our 2 year anniversary of podcrafting too.
Wow, really?
Yep, it's time to record. I mentioned this at the top of the episode. It's 4th of July, so again, happy 4th of July to our American listeners. But our 2 year anniversary of Lasercomb Productions is July 30th. It's when we recorded the first episode.
Ooh, it's coming up.
It's coming up. We're not going to make episode 100 in time, but whatever.
What are you gonna do?
What you gonna do when they come for you? What Prime
Bad toys,
does,
bad toys.
bad toys.
Oh.
What Prime? Speaking of toys, what Prime does is transforms into truck mode and launches himself into the air to go and get the Allspark. And there's
like how trucks do.
yeah, you know how
You know
like,
how trucks just can go make a sweet jump.
can just get like mad, like semi trucks can just get like mad air whenever they want to.
Yeah,
But
they just jump.
What I found really funny, and I've talked about this before, about how in this show they just scan the toys themselves
Yeah,
and use them as the animation model, which again I think is cool. There's a shot from beneath Prime where you see him like flying through the air in truck mode, and you straight up see his like robot kibble on his underside. I'm like, yeah, this is they 100% just scanned the toy.
yeah. You see all the bits and pieces and folded parts of his arms and legs. Yeah,
You see his like kibble is like a term in for Transformers where it's something that it's something that is like makes it obvious that it's a Transformer. So it's like if they have like a backpack where it has like bits like Chromia has, that would be like back kibble. Or the fact that the plastic engineering on Prime's underside in this, you could see like his legs are just straight up like folded up, like that's kibble, that kind of thing.
yeah. I like that too.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I just noticed it. Yeah. So what happens here? He grabs the almighty D12 of destiny and
Rolls for initiative, and they get
well, you roll a D20 for initiative, but
my mistake.
maybe he's using. Remember, he uses a battle axe in combat, right?
Yeah.
That is a D12 of combat.
Oh, well, today
Actually, I'm a liar. It's a D10.
Anyway, so what happens? They get out of there, and like they all like transform into
D8. I'm a liar. Sorry, they all transform into their rollout modes.
And then they roll out. And so RC and Bumblebee and Cog. Bumblebee apparently is just fine now when they get back to the Ark. Like he passed out in the last scene we saw him in, but by the time they get back to the Ark, he's just fine.
Well, briefly, as they're like peeling out, he kind of. No, you're right. At some point, he kind of like wakes up. Yeah, you're right. And they're just like, what is it? They're kind of like, oh, you're back. And he's all like, wait, the Alpha Triumph. Like he immediately is like, uh-oh, like my library of like wealth and like knowledge and like battle tactics and that kind of thing it's gone, man.
It's kaput. So they get back to the Ark, and Chromie is like, please tell me you got the Energon. And they're like, we have it right here. And she's like, sweet, Wheeljack, get the ship going. And wouldn't you know it, the full might of the Decepticon army is just looming over the Ark, just about ready to attack. And so they start attacking. Prime and Elita 1 like radio one another and like kind of give each other like status updates. And Prime's like, hey, I got the Allspark, and Elita 1 is like, sweet, we got the Energon. We're about ready to launch. But guess what? Megatron's attacking, so you really can't bring that Allspark back here, bud. And he's like, all right, well, we'll meet you at the space bridge then.
Yeah. We'll meet part ways. See you there. Oh yeah, good luck.
Yeah, they're all going to the same place anyway, right?
Yeah, we're all going to the same place.
Also,
There's barely anything in their way.
also, I like how Megatron's this is one of the things that I didn't really notice until watching through these episodes this time. So like the first time I watched these like 2 years ago, I didn't really notice. But now that I've actually been collecting the War for Cybertron toys, Megatron's entire army is all just refractor. It's like dozens of refractors. It's just the same exact same mold.
The purple and gray.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guy who turns into a camera. Yeah, it's just dozens upon dozens of refractors and a whole bunch of seekers.
Yep. A whole bunch of kind of like seekers that just nondescript ones that they can blast out of the air. And
yep, they all just look like Starscream but with different colors.
Yeah, with muted colors, and they're just there. They're just there to be fodder.
Yep. I just thought it was funny that like Megatron's like entire like Decepticon army was just that he has with him is just refractor times like 50.
I guess that is the bulk of the Decepticons.
I guess, yeah. Must have been a very easy character must have been a really easy character for them to render. Probably because he's kind of small.
Kind of small, and there's like nondescript Autobots too, but at least they have different appearances here or there. I haven't seen any like stock Autobot yet. There's been background ones that are kind of like, I don't really recognize that one or whatever, but there hasn't just been like, these are all like Bumblebee, but without like the horns.
Right.
There hasn't been anything like that.
Well, I mean, we got Chromia and Moonracer.
Which aren't the same character.
I guess not, no.
Yeah. So what ends up happening here? They kind of like dramatically like power up the arc at some point.
Yeah, they dramatically power up the arc, and Teletran 1 comes online, and they initiate their defenses. Megatron is like at one point is looking around being like, why isn't Prime here? And then he's like, unless.
I liked that moment. He actually stops in the middle of combat and he's like, son of a bitch.
Why isn't Prime coming to help them? Unless that motherfucker has the Allspark. And so they break away to like go and intercept, and
he's like Soundwave, stay here, fuck them up, kill them all. And then he like radios Starscream, and he's like, hey, you and your boys, space Stargate right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, but he's in the middle of fighting Jetfire, and he's like, but Lord Megatron. And he's like, no, Starscream, you little bitch. And he's like, I'll get you next time, Jetfire. And I'm like, no, you won't. He will never be Jetfire, dude.
Also, you'll probably never see him again at this point.
Also that. And they fly away, and Jetfire is like, oh, SpaghettiOs, I guess I have to stop them, because he just heard this conversation. And so it's a very dramatic, we need to get to the Stargate. And meanwhile, who is it? It's Cog and Impactor and other people at the space.
Oh yeah, and Ratchet and a bunch of dudes.
Oh, sorry, Ratchet. I meant Ratchet. Yeah. They're all there, and they're like, come on, we got to get it up and running. And I'm like, what was it you did before? Like last episode, wasn't that getting it up and running?
Yeah,
I guess that was just turning the power on.
Yeah, and they left it turned on. I remember because we complained about that.
which
But now
brought
it's
a lot of heat,
yeah,
and indeed is still attracting attention.
but it doesn't appear to be on anymore because
But like,
they fire it up in this episode.
Uh,
A little inconsistent is all I'm saying.
so I guess what they were doing was turning the power on, but not activating the space. Why do I keep calling it Stargate? It's a Stargate. It's a giant one.
The space bridge.
Space bridge, people. I watched the show, I swear. Space bridge. Sometimes our funny like our funny renaming schemes that we do on the show replaces my actual vocabulary for the characters and objects.
Oh yeah, I
Space
even
bridge.
like IRL, I 100% refer to Primal as Gary.
Yeah.
Even in IRL, I'm just like, oh yeah, Gary Primal.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Space bridge. But I guess what that actually is testing to see the power supply if it works. And the actual space bridge consumes a ton of power and is gigantic, like 10-kilometer kind of like gigantic super tech kind of thing.
Yeah,
But it is
it's a big portal in the sky, big enough for like starships to go through.
yeah. And I guess that other thing that we thought was the space bridge was just a little Stargate for Transformers to walk through.
Yeah, I was a little confused
Because there was a gate. Am I insane? And I'm imagining like around.
No, and like the smaller like not person, but transformer sized gate is what we saw like in the very first episode, and indeed like Ratchet and the gang, Ratchet, Bombastor, and like whatever the rest of their names are all like hanging out by this like smaller gate.
Yeah. And so it's cool that it's like, oh, this is the space bridge.
Yeah.
But is
So
that
what-
other thing just like,
So what's this small thing then?
I don't know, for you to throw rocks through, I guess?
Is the smaller one like, I don't know, it's like it's turbine or something, it's power source?
That must be
Maybe.
what it is. Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
So Megatron and his army of refractors go and intercept Prime and Hound. They transform.
Oh, they do interrupt them, right?
Yeah. They intercept them. They transform. There's some fighting going on. There's some shit talking. We
They
find
both have a really good point they make here.
Yeah, because Megatron even says, he's like, you're going to take the Allspark off of Cybertron, killing our planet in the process.
Killing our race. Like,
and you call
not
me,
even yeah, go ahead.
and you say I'm the mad one.
And then Prime is like, yeah, well, you've destroyed the planet first trying to win this war. So nanner boo boo. You're both right, but you're both wrong. Like, I kind of don't like either of you right now.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but we find out in this scene that Megatron actually was the one who killed Alpha Trion. Is this the first time we've heard this? Because I don't think that's come up before.
Did Ultra Magnus say something about that? Maybe. When they were at the memorial? Maybe, but yeah, I did notice it, and it kind of made dramatic music.
Yeah.
So maybe this was the first time out loud that it was said.
Right.
Yeah, and indeed, he's like, no, you started the war when you killed Alpha Trion.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I don't like either of you, but like one of you is definitely not the good guy, and the other one can redeem himself.
One of you is definitely the bad guy, and the other one is definitely the
hero Cybertron needs.
the other one is the more misguided one. Or they're both pretty misguided. I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this.
This is the beginning of when I'm like, well, wait, Megatron's right. but Megatron's bad. But Megatron kill Alpha Trion. But Optimus Prime isn't denying that taking the Allspark off-world will destroy the planet.
Yeah, because he has commented before that he doesn't actually know what's going to happen.
He's like, but it's got to be better than letting Megatron get it. Megatron was only looking for it because he found out you guys were.
Yeah.
It's like cyclic. It's like,
Yeah.
I only did this because you're a dick. And it's like, I was only a dick because you're greedy.
I was only greedy because you're selfish.
And it becomes like the meme with like the Spider-Mans pointing at each other.
Yep.
Yeah. And oh, sorry, Jetfire pops up. That's how they get away.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Jetfire catches up. He shoots a bunch of missiles. He's like, Prime, get out of here. And he stalls them for a bit. Seemingly, he's just gonna fight them all to the death.
So so Prime and Hound head to the space bridge. As I mentioned earlier, Teletran 1 comes online, activates the Ark's defenses, completely cleans house.
Ooh.
Like, just takes out all the Decepticons, like...
With, like, energy weapons that are overkill. Like, this thing's meant to fight other starships.
Yeah. This thing is, like, this is a battle. This is a battle.
The only reason some of the reflectors and Soundwave are alive is because they're underneath the Ark, and there's no guns, I guess, on that side of it.
Right.
Because as it flies away, what was like 100 Decepticons is like 8. It's like 8 dudes left in Soundwave. And Soundwave is just like, dang you. Like, what are you going to do at that point?
Autobots.
Dang you, Autobots.
Will not be
Megatron. Megatron will not be happy. And then something weird happens. For some reason, the fight for the D12 and between Optimus and Megatron turns into a platformer or Donkey Kong, where like Prime is like jumping from like left platform to right platform, like climbing up the pyramid where the space bridge is housed.
Where the space bridge is, yeah. So they fire up the space bridge. It's this big, like, dramatic, like, huge ass portal in the sky. It's really cool looking, actually. If this was Stargate, that would be what's known as a supergate.
Ooh, so pyramids do have a purpose.
They're landing pads for the Goa'uld ships.
That's right. I feel like there must be some cross sci-fi references going on here.
Oh, probably.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, in the later seasons of Stargate SG-1, they discover supergates, which are giant-ass stargates in space that are designed specifically to transport ships across long stretches of space instantaneously.
And that just makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. What was the founding aliens?
The Ancients.
The Ancients, yeah. You know, sometimes you got a big rig, a big boy to transfer across space, not just troops.
They have another name too that I'm completely blanking on right now. I know there were 2 races of Ancients. There were the Milky Way Ancients, and there were the Pegasus Galaxy Ancients that were on Atlantis. The Pegasus Ancients were known as the Alterans, and I can't remember what the Milky Way Ancients were known as now. Folks, it's been a long time since I watched.
The Greys.
No, those are the Asgard.
Oh, I forgot. Right.
Yeah,
I was like, the gray aliens. I'm like, wait, no, those are canonical too, and those are something else.
Yeah, those are the Asgard. They're all named after Norse mythological stuff. They would use, and that's where Norse mythology in human history comes from. The gray aliens would use like holograms to make themselves look like big tough Vikings.
Because I mean, if you're like skinny, kind of like weak ass looking aliens, why not look like the race you're trying to lead, but just like big buff versions of them?
Exactly, yeah.
And speaking of big and buff, and speaking of my favorite Taco Bell combo, Omega Supreme decides to Omega Supreme, with extra cheese, decides to make his appearance, apparently
it's
coming out of the ground.
and a side of salsa and a side of queso.
And indeed, he's one of the what are they called? The Guardians.
The Guardians, yeah. He is a Titan class figure.
He's huge.
He's
And he shows up, and what does he do? He's like, "Hey, quit fucking around. I've stood in the sidelines too long." And
I
Megatron's
really don't
like,
like Omega Supreme's voice in this bit here.
"Oh,
I found him really hard to understand.
well,
But
luckily I watch everything with subtitles, so
but basically Megatron is like, so the Guardians have finally chosen a side. And Omega Supreme is just like, yeah, I'm acting on my own, but I'm gonna defend Cybertron. So that's
and
why I'm here.
you know what, Megatron? Go
Yeah,
fuck yourself.
yeah, I just want to say, like, imagine being like on such a wrong-headed side of an issue that like one of your living gods appears to tell you that you're fucking wrong, and then not even and then in turn not taking any kind of hint from that and just being like, well, fuck you, God.
Well, you chose wrong. And it's like, uh, at this point, there's absolutely nothing that will ever convince Megatron he's the bad guy,
No.
including like one of the Guardians like being like taking a stand. And
Mhm.
it's like, well, I guess you joined the Autobots. You chose wrong.
So Megatron and Optimus are like fighting on this
They're
pyramid
wrestling. Yeah.
leading up to the space bridge. They're like shit talking each other. Bumblebee gets involved at one point. He basically pulls a hot rod from Transformers the movie. I've got to help Prime.
Yeah, I've got to help Prime. And he shoots Megatron in the back, but it's like with a little blaster that kind of just inconveniences Megatron.
Yeah.
And he does cause Megatron to drop the Allspark. And this is being desperate, I guess. And this also explains why he's climbing up the side, I guess.
Yeah.
Prime is like, he gets his hand on it, on the Allspark again. And while Megatron is distracted with Bumblebee, he's like, well, fuck it. And he like winds up and he yeets the Allspark like through the space bridge.
Yeah, he just throws it like straight up into the air into the space bridge. And that kind of gave me like the end of season 1 of Beast Machines vibe, where Gary and Megatron are just both like, all right, we're activating the plasma chamber and the key to Vector Sigma. Fuck it.
If I'm gonna die, then I guess you get to die too, and we'll see what happens.
Optimus is
See you
just
on
like,
the other side.
Optimus is just like, fuck it. I'm throwing the Allspark into the space bridge.
Yeah, he just yeets it straight
Let
through the space bridge.
let the fates fall where they may.
Yeah. And Megatron's like, you just doomed us all.
Yeah.
Like, you're destroying the planet. But it's worse than even Optimus just having it, because like now it's just out there by itself.
It's out there in the cosmos somewhere. And indeed, Earthrise, the next part of the War for Cybertron trilogy, involves them trying to find the fucking thing again.
Yep.
You're like, where could it be?
If only we didn't just yeet it into oblivion.
Yeah, I get it though. It was a desperate maneuver. Yeah, and yeah, Omega Supreme. Megatron orders the Decepticons to completely obliterate the Autobots.
Destroy the space bridge, obliterate them all.
Space bridge. Omega Supreme's cleaning house. The Ark shows up. Bombastor dies at some point. I can't remember.
When they were activating the space bridge, they were running dramatically to press a button.
Yeah.
And Impactor's like, no, you were like a brother to me. You taught me Ratchet. He's like, you taught me that there is light. in the
You taught me that
darkness.
it's way cooler to be one of the good guys. Thanks, man.
Yeah, and Ratchet's like, Con!
So the arc, a bunch of Transformers get on the arc. They go through space bridge.
Yeah, they're like, come on, we can make it. Ratchet gets shot and falls before he makes it onto onto the arc.
Yeah.
And
Elita
it's
1
like, oh shit.
Elita 1 tells Optimus Prime that she's not going, and he's like, "But why?" And she's like, "You have your mission, I have mine. I'm going to
Somebody
stay
has to
here
stay behind
and
to,
lead the fight."
like, I'm not abandoning our planet.
And at this moment, I'm like, in this show, Elita 1 is a much better leader than Optimus Prime
Thank
is.
you. This is the moment right here where I'm like, that she's a better leader.
Yeah, give her the Matrix.
Yeah, give her the matrix of leadership. And indeed, when they all take off, in the arc, who's behind? Red Alert, is it like Cog, Alita are kind of watching the space arc, right? And as it's going through, there's this white light. It kind of doesn't show it go through, kind of does, it's unsure. And the space bridge is destroyed. The Decepticons blow it up. For some reason, all the Autobots assume that the arc was destroyed.
Yeah, I was a little confused about that. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna have to make sure that the crew of that ship didn't die for nothing." And I'm like, "Why are you guys just immediately assuming they're dead?"
You see the wreckage?
Yeah,
Like they
it's
were
a
trying to
port.
go through.
It's a portal. They went through. The portal closed.
They either
There's no
didn't and they're
wreckage.
on this side, or they did and they're on the other side.
Yeah.
Or you'd see it cut in half or something dramatic.
Yeah, or like see the ship explode or something. I don't know. They were I felt like they were jumping to too quick of a conclusion on that one.
And indeed, speaking of the matrix of leadership, it would have zipped right over to Alita if Optimus had died in an explosion. It would have
Right.
been like, fuck this, I'm out. And or maybe it works differently. In the movie, you had to touch
Yeah.
you had to touch the matrix. But so far in War for Cybertron, when Ultra Magnus died, the Alpha Trion protocols like whipped across Cybertron and boom, like immediately inhabited Bumblebee.
Right.
So I assume maybe the matrix of leadership would have done something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's I'm with you there.
Yeah, but also that the power grid is down and that killed the Alpha Trion protocols. So maybe the matrix of leadership wouldn't, but that was specifically meant for the Alpha Trion protocols. I don't know, but I'm with you here. I'm all like, you know what? Alita was right about everything, and I'm on her side.
Yeah.
She's the better leader. And her being like, yeah, I'm not going with you, homie. And he's all like, but we haven't had time, we haven't really fucked, like, is this how we're going out? And she's all like, yeah, I expected things to be different too, my dude. So
But sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches, and
this is the hard road, and I'm choosing this one.
yeah.
And I think the episode ends with her, who is it? It's Cog.
It ends with a bunch of them saying that basically, like, oh, we have to ensure that the crew of this of the Ark didn't die.
Bromia, Red
Didn't
Alert,
die for nothing.
or
So
Ratchet, sorry.
and then the camera fades out. So I was actually all set to turn the episode off here. So it fades to black and then fades back in to another scene where we see the bridge of the Ark, and like all the lights are out. So we know we see the Ark in space, so we know the ship is still intact. And on the bridge of the Ark, all the power is down, but Teletran 1 comes back online, and it's like, warning, ship detected, warning, ship detected. And then that's how the episode ends.
Unknown vessel approaching. And that's
Or
how
that, yeah.
chapter 6 ends. And indeed, War for Cybertron Siege
Yep.
ends.
And
There
well,
you have it.
that's the episode.
And we'll get right into it. Christopher Siege. We do a little Transformer rating here on Too Much Energon. That's a 3-scale rating, folks. Ranges from not enough Energon to a sufficient amount of Energon to too much Energon. It's bad, okay, good. Siege, what will you give Chapter 6, War for Cybertron Siege?
It's getting too much Energon from me. We complained about some like minor little details early on in the episode,
It's
but
because if we're complaining about tiny minutia, that says a lot about the show being pretty good.
yeah, overall, I was on the edge of my seat throughout this entire episode, and
I would
it's
say this is one of the better episodes of the first part for War for Cybertron.
and it's kind of it's kind of rewarding to see their plan actually like come together in the end.
And it's not convoluted or weird. It's like, we need Energon for the arc. We need to find the Allspark. We got to get the space bridge open. And those things come together and you did it.
You did.
I don't agree with it, but you sons of bitches did it. Yeah, same. Too much Energon from me too. I don't know what else anyone could have wanted from Transformers.
Right?
Like this, if you want something different than this or better than this, please write me what that episode is, because I don't know what you mean. This was pretty great.
Oh, and there
And
you have
character development too. It's got it all, folks.
well, and there you have it. That has been episode 88 of Too Much Energon. Best way to support the show, go to patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB. Starting at the $5 and up tier per month, you get bonus preamble audio from this and any other show that we do, where we kind of talk about this, that, or the other thing before we get into talking about the show proper. You also get commentary tracks and a whole bunch of other goodies. At the $10 tier, you get our news and current events program, Lasercomb Tonight. And you also get to pick a show for us to review a random episode of on our podcast, the Lasercomb Podcast. So
That's right.
Go check that out. Patreon.com/Lasercomb. Follow us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Lasercomb, or you can follow the show on Twitter at Too Much Energon, or you can follow me at Lasercomb. Cal.
And I am at NeoCal on Twitter, NEO_KAL.
We'll be back next week with episode 89 of Too Much Energon, where we're going to be talking about War for Cybertron Earthrise, Chapter 1. And
Earthrise, baby.
And until then, I've been The Siege, one of your hosts.
And I'm your other host, NeoCal.
And until next week, till all are one.
Till all are one.